Om Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Vyasam Vasishtanaptaram Sakte Pautramakalmasham Parasaratmajam Vande Sukatatam Taponidhim. Let's bow our heads in obeisance to Bhagavan Vyasa for giving us so many foundational treasures. The amount of wealth he has given is simply amazing. He is the one who organized all the Vedas, which were discovered by the rishis way before him, which were coming as a family treasure. He is the one who compiled, organized, and gave it to us. He also given us Brahma Sutras. He has also given us the 17 Puranas. And when he has finished doing all of them, he has been overwhelmed by the emotion of Bhagavan that he has given us Srimad Bhagavatam. And today we are going to look at the Saptama Skanda of Srimad Bhagavatam, and basically in the second chapter of the Saptama Skanda. There is an article link that is given on the top as a companion for those who are interested in looking at it for more clarity. What Vyasa did is nothing short of revolutionary when it came to giving all the foundational aspects of Sanatana Dharma. In short, you can say if Vyasa is not there, you won't have Sanatana Dharma, at least in the format we have. And that is such a massive contribution which has no parallel in the corpus of books that is given to us, in the depth of the understanding, and also the massiveness of impact. We have been looking at awkward characters, villains to say, people like Maricha, people like Kumbhakarna, how they gave advice on critical situations that was almost on par with what you would expect from like Hanuman or someone like Sita. Though it did not get the intended result on the target, in all cases it also failed to produce a result in themselves. Today we are going to look at Hiranyakashipu. This is a crowning jewel of not just the series, but at the way we are looking at a villain and we are having a sort of image. Because we look at a villain, an Asura, like two horns, like bearing fangs, and that sort of thing. That is the last place we would expect someone to talk very high Vedanta. Not entry level Vedanta, this is very high Vedanta. And today we are in for a treat. This Vedanta is not very superficial or anything like that. If you can listen to his wisdom and apply, you and I will get benefit. No question on that. irrespective of the fact that he didn't apply it, is not an excuse that we cannot apply it. Let's put that caveat. So, who was Hiranyakashipu? So, we hear the word Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu as two brothers. So, in the Krita Yuga, there were two doorkeepers of Bhagavan Vishnu. Their names are Jaya and Vijaya. If you go to any Vishnu temple, you will see these two Dwarapalas in every temple. They look like a clone of Mahavishnu. They have four arms like they are Chaturbhuja. They look just like Vishnu. So, what is the significance of these guys? And why did they get cursed? And where does this story come? See, the interesting thing about Itihasa Puranas is the story is not at one level, like I am narrating a story and continuously you are all listening. It is not like that. It is never like that. It is a story within a story within a story within a story. Sometimes it can go many levels and you don't even know which level you are talking about. And today is one such example that you are going to go into the depths of it. You are going to get a deep insight into the way stories were narrated in Itihasa Puranas. So this story is set. We all know about Parikshit Maharaja, the grandson of Arjuna, who was Abhimanyu's son, and he had a curse that he will be put to death in 7 days by the bite of Takshaka, a very powerful Naga. Now, if you and I had some time told like, hey, we have so many days, we normally don't take it seriously, do we? Just look around, how many people who have cancer, even in the preliminary stage, think about dying. Now, I'm not saying that they should not give treatment, but even if it is an advanced level cancer, instead of taking palliative treatment, what do? They are fighting it. They spend all the money and they die. That's all. Now, I'm not saying that you should not give treatment. Please don't get me wrong. So, what happens? There is a difference between our way of thinking and our ancestral way, especially people who are deep rooted in dharma, people who are deep rooted in moksha marga, the way they think. It is so different. So Parikshit said, I will take these 7 days and get to know everything that is to know about Bhagavan. My life. So actually when Shuka Brahma heard about his situation, he came here volunteering to tell him everything. And he said, like, how much time do we have? He said, I got only 7 days. Shuka Maharishi said, you got 7 days. Don't worry, we have ample time. So, Shuka Maharishi started telling a lot of things. By the time Saptama Skanda comes, there is a story of a discussion that happened between Yudhishthira and Narada Maharishi at the time of Shishupala Vada. And Shishupala Vada, they basically have all this confusion. What is this odd thing that there is a Jyoti that went and merged with Bhagavan? Yudhishthira is having 150 questions now. Even before Narada could answer, he has 5 more questions. So, to answer all the questions, Narada Maharishi tells the backstory of what happened. So, we are already at level 2 now. Okay. Now, in that story, there is a narration of Hiranyakashipu telling some information to his relatives. In that story, he quotes the story of Yama. In the story of Yama, there is a story of a hunter and a bird. Okay. So we have at least 5 levels of narration. So who was this Hiranyakashipu? What is the situation? That is what we are going to see, and we are going to learn the villain talking very high Vedanta today. So people who are interested in Vedanta are in for a treat, and people who are interested in the story, needless to say, it is going to be very exciting, and people who are interested in practical application of Vedanta will find it also. So I expect this talk to go a bit longer, but bear with me, pardon the duration. I'll try to cover as quickly as possible without losing the essence, because it is important that we understand. And as I keep telling you, this is a crowning jewel in the way we look at the villains and their level of information. I told you there was Jaya and Vijaya, who were the doorkeepers of Mahavishnu. The mind-born sons of Brahma, whom we know as Sanakadi brothers, that is Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana and Sanat Kumara. These 4 brothers were at such an exalted state that when Brahmaji created them, they were at such a evolved state that they said, when Brahmaji said, please come and help me in all this work, they looked at him and said, sorry, we can't do that. All we can do is revel in the Brahman. When Narada Maharishi gets doubt, he goes to Sanakadi Rishis only. And we also see that Vidura invokes in Sanat Sujatiya, he invokes Sanat Sujata, he gets one of these brothers to give the discourse to even Dhritarashtra. So these 4 brothers look like a 4-year-old, 3-year-old children, and they don't have any bodily consciousness because they are always reveling in Brahman, and they look like small children. They wanted to go and see Mahavishnu. And Vijaya and Jaya and Vijaya, they thought like these are like some children, and they said no entry. And they didn't realize the blunder they made. So Sanakadi Munis got they saw an error. They were not harsh on these people. They wondered this. If a person doesn't have 100% Sattva-guna, how can they be the gatekeepers of Mahavishnu? So they cursed him. You people are filled with so much tamas that you can't even differentiate who is a Bhakta. A Bhagavata always has free entry pass to Bhagavan. How dare you do that? Now Mahavishnu takes a stand. See, here is a management lesson. How to handle problems, right? If you and I were in that situation, what would you do? We would have either taken the side of Sanakadi Munis, thereby causing a lack of faith and a lack of compassion towards Jaya and Vijaya. Or if you take the side of Jaya and Vijaya, Sanakadi Munis are going to get upset. Hey, how can the Satyam be upheld? Now you and I would have done a third option, which we are all specialists in. What you and I would have done is, okay, forget about it. Let both of them fight with each other and figure it out. But Mahavishnu is not like that. See, when Brahman looks at us, it doesn't differentiate in compassion. When the sun shines, it doesn't differentiate this is America, this is India, this is a rich guy, this is poor guy. No, it shines equally. Depending on the latitude and altitude, you may receive it differently, but it shines equally. It is only our variation that makes the difference, not Bhagavan. So, these two were cursed to, they were given a choice. Do you want like 1,000 janmas slowly evolve, or you want to be like super mega, ultra mega bad people that you will come back to me in 3 janmas? And they chose the latter. So, if you see, the first 2 janmas were Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu is the elder one. But Hiranyaksha died first because Varaha Avatara came to finish him off. Then Narasimha Avatara came to finish Hiranyakashipu. But imagine this, these two were filled with so much tamas that Bhagavan himself had to take 2 avatars. But the minute Bhagavan's contact came, the next avatar was Ravana Kumbhakarna. They did not have to have so much negativity. 1 avatar was enough, and also we saw that in case of Uttarakanda, like in Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana, Ravana goes to see Mahabali and says that, hey, can you give me some aid? And he said, carry whatever you want. And he goes and sees this huge hillock. But that is kind of weird shape. It's like almost spherical. And this huge hillock full of gold and diamonds and all jewels. He said, I will take this. Because he was a guy who shook the Himalayas, right? But he could barely even make a dent. He could not even move it. So what happened? He came back defeated. So that when Mahabali said, that's my great grandfather's kundala. It is 1 kundala. You can't even lift that. Imagine that you are going to go and fight with Mahavishnu. Of course, still Ravana goes and makes the mistake. That's a different story. And then that is in Treta Yuga. Then in Dwapara Yuga, you have Shishupala and Dantavakra, and all they do is give comic relief. Dantavakra is barely mentioned, and Shishupala is like a comedy villain. So every time when he was born, and he was born with multiple organs. So when Krishna came and touched, Krishna could have finished him then only. But since his mother asked a boon that he be forgiven, instead of knowing the limit, this fellow was testing the limits. So what really happened was, when Shishupala came for Draupadi Swayamvara, Krishna came and just took her at her request. We saw that in Rukmini Swayamvara when we discussed that few months ago. For folks interested, you can always go to the YouTube channel with the namesake, and you can get that. Now, interesting point we need to see before we go in, the name Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Hiranya means gold. Hiranyaksha, that means the person is so much, is having, Aksha means eye. The person's eye is only set on materialistic things. Gold is here told as a representation. So, when we are looking at Bhagavan, what is the exact opposite of Bhagavan? Very simple to say, that is materialism. We saw this when we were talking and discussing about Jabali in another talk. So, let's look at Hiranyakashipu. Kashipu means like a seat, cushion, or you can also use rough translation could be like a garment. So, one who drapes himself with Hiranya, gold. Again, both these brothers are representing materialism. And when did this happen? In Krita Yuga. In Krita Yuga itself, this materialistic mindset has come. That's what we can understand. But the only difference is, even though it was a materialistic guy, even though they were anti-Vishnu, they were having knowledge of Vedanta. But today, it is the other way around. We call ourselves spiritual, but most people don't know anything. I'm not accusing our audience, please don't take me otherwise. I'm just saying the average Sanatani is not aware of anything. You have this Kaun Banega Karotpati, they ask like who are four brothers in Ramayana, they don't know, they have to call Lifeline. You say like what are the four Vedas, they don't know. So Sanatana Dharma is not a quiz program, but nonetheless we definitely don't have the basics going in our favor. Now Hiranyaksha was killed by Varaha Avatara. Now what happened? The elder brother Hiranyakashipu was very much enraged. So he said, what is the source of strength for Vishnu? In his calculation, it is the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas who are upholding Dharma. Because they are upholding Dharma, they are able to do yagas and yajnas. Because they are doing yagas and yajnas, devas are protected. Because devas are in a strong position, they are worshipping and making sure that Mahavishnu is celebrated around the world. So, he said, he will uproot all these people. And remember, these two people, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, they were born to Kashyapa Maharishi, whose first wife Aditi gave birth to the Adityas, the Devas. The second wife Diti gave birth to Daityas, and Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu were Daityas. And then there was another third wife called Danu. She gave birth to Danavas. So these were very tamasic people, and Hiranyaksha now focused his attention, sent all his minions to go and let loose a reign of terror on earth. So what happened? Meanwhile, since Diti had lost her son, and Hiranyaksha's wife Rishabhanu, she was also grieving, and she also had some sons. In Srimad Bhagavatam, we get their names: Shakuni, Sambara, Drishta, Bhuta Santapana, Vrika, Kalanaba, Mahanaba, Harismaru, Utkacha. And you can see these names have Bhagavan's connection already there. It's not that these people are not connected. But what happened? These people were now immersed with so much sorrow that they didn't know what to do. They were so depressed. So Hiranyaksha came to their rescue and he said, look, just like you go to a jungle, let's say there is a small water body like a pond or a lake, and you will find that there are random assortment of animals that come and drink water. If you see National Geographic, you would have seen, right? Like a lion is drinking water, whereas the deer and gazelle is also drinking water from next to each other. You will also find an elephant drinking water, whereas some birds are also drinking water. So there is a artificial assemblage. So even just like that artificial assemblage, in this Janma, you and I are also brought together. So your relationship with mine is also an artificial assemblage, nothing to be held as a permanent deal. Whoa! Right off the bat, look at the level of depth of Vedanta that is coming out of the mouth of Hiranyakashipu. And then he says, Nitya Atmavya Shuddha Savarga Sarva Vitparaha Dattesva Atmano Lingam Mayaya Visrujjan Gunanan. He basically is saying this Atma is Nitya. That means it is eternal. Right? Avyaya. That means you can't break it down. It's kind of like endless. It's inexhaustible. Shuddha. That means pure. There is you can't color it with gunas. It's beyond gunas, right? Sarvaga. That means it goes everywhere. So Atma is not limited to one loka or another loka, one body or anything like that. It is there everywhere. Sarvavit. That means it is full of knowledge. And then it says paraha. That means it transcends the materialistic limitations. And then it says because of Maya, right, it assumes a lingam. In this place, lingam refers to not a sign. Lingam here refers to a sharira. Because of all the qualities that are attached or reflected in it. Look at the second sentence itself. Now he has cleared the park. It's like Dhoni 6, helicopter shot, right off the bat. Right? Now, what we are going to do is, we are going to dive little bit deeper into the few words that are given by Hiranyakashipu. And we are going to try to imbibe that so that we can apply it in our life. Now, what is happening? If you are on a like near a water body, let's say like a river or like a lake. Now you see the reflection of trees. But if the wind is blowing, the water forms a ripple. Now because of the reflection is also shaking, like waving. So it looks like the trees are also waving. Whereas it is the water that is waving. So same way, the Atman, because of the association with the body, gives the impression that that is the real one. Whereas that is not the real one. Okay, and he says like, the key thing he tries to tell is our body is made up of gunas because we are made up of the Prakriti. So there are two entities, there is Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha is beyond the gunas and anything and everything in Prakriti is made up of the gunas. So our body is made up of the gunas. Just think like this. You and I, in science parlance, you and I are nothing but cosmic dust. Right? All the elements are manufactured in the star because the only element that it started was hydrogen. And only by the nuclear fusion, we ended up with all the other elements. So even from that perspective, if you see, we are a simplified amalgam of just some energy. But that is where science stops. It doesn't understand that there is consciousness behind this that leads to all the movement. Now what is happening? There is the Atman that is residing in each one of our bodies, and there are wrappers around it. In one of the Q&A sessions we saw that there are 3 levels of layers, right? So we have a Karana Sarira, or what we call as Anandamaya Kosha, which is basically the ignorance that is giving rise to the mistaken identity. Now, once that mistaken identity came, from there we acquired more wrappers, what we call as prana, we got manas and buddhi, the three of which we call as linga sarira, the subtle body. And then the first one was causal body, the second one was subtle body. And now on the top of it we got this sthula sharira, the physical body. Now we all mistake us as different layers of different things. Even in English, if you look at it, the word I. Now you go and talk to someone, he says, I am so and so. So they are referring to the body. Now when you look at that person and you look at, if the person has a headache, he says, I got headache. Now that time they are referring the body. But if something nice has happened to them, they say, I am happy or I am unhappy. Now what are they referring? They are referring to their mind. Same way, they say, I am hungry and thirsty. Hunger and thirst are connected with prana. So even the English word we are using I as an amalgam. It's not 100% pointed towards what we really want. Now in this birth, we also make the mistake that since we have wrongly identified ourselves as the body, and since we have wrongly identified ourselves as the karta, so we are also responsible for the karma phala. So we end up with the concept of karma. Now this karma is going to give karma phala. Because all the karma phala cannot come right away, we have to take another janma for finishing of that karma phala. Now when you come back for the other janma, you are going to do more karma, creating more karma phala waiting for you. So in this way, karma creates janma, janma creates karma, and this cycle keeps going on and on and on. And there is no end to it. And that is what we are calling samsara. And that is what Hiranyakashipu is trying to tell his mother. So he says, listen now, I will tell you a old story, old history. Right? Now this old history is a discourse between Yamaraj and some people who were mourning about a dead person. So there was a country called Usinara. In that country, there was a king called Suyagnya. Now this country, this Raja went to some battle with some enemies. And what happened? The body had come back and it was totally mutilated, and his armor was pierced, his body organs were cut. There was his eye was poked, and everything. There was blood all over his body, and now all his wives were extremely distressed. All the relatives are pounding on their chest and crying and crying and crying, and they are mourning so much that they are not even ready to do the cremation. And as you know, in Sanatana Dharma, cremation quickly is the mode. It's not a question of delay. So, and while they were continuously crying and lamenting, Yama came in the form of a small boy. And once he came in the form of a small boy, he tried to advise them, hey, don't cry. The first thing he said was, I thought you guys elders have seen the world. You elders should have seen more world than me, because I am a small lad, he is a small boy. But you guys are now foolishly crying. What is this? What is going on? What kind of ignorance is this? What kind of mood atmas are you? Now, when everybody is busy crying, they don't, when a small child is coming and talking, obviously they are all stunned already by the sorrow, and now by this young boy coming and talking, like asking questions straight point blank. And he asked the question, you see, you people are more blessed compared to me. Somebody threw me out and I am here. Whereas you guys have all the things going on, and you know that Bhagavan is taking care of everyone, and all this is child's play for him. This entire universe is just a leela. And what are you people crying? And still it didn't help them. So he says, hey, look at this way. You are living in a house. Now all of you are in some room, right? And all of you are wearing some clothes, obviously. Now, neither the house nor the cloth will be mistaken as you, though you will be saying it is my house, my clothes. So, the same way, all these things, the body, what you are thinking as me is not real. We see the same example in Bhagavad Gita, right? So, and then he says, like, because of our karma, we get into this body. Now, here we again the reference of Linga Sharira comes, but this Linga Sharira is what we are talking about, is about the subtle body. And then we have to understand, just like you are separate from the house, same way the jiva is different from the body you are living in. And anything that is in Prakriti will follow its own terms. So, what is born a small baby, few years later it grows. Even if you ask any of us, let's say that somebody is there 90 years or 100 years in deathbed. But if you ask them, point their picture when they were a baby and ask them, hey, who is this? Say, like me. And then you ask them, like, who is this small child? You say, it's me. Who is this college going person? Oh, it's me. Who is this person in the wedding album? It's me. Who is this with the new child? Oh, it's me. Who is this in the old age? It's me. Who is this on deathbed? It's me. So the body has changed, but we still cling on to the idea that it is us. So that is what Yamaraj is reminding, that we are not this body. And he again uses this word, foolish, because we are totally not in a situation to understand. Because if we are crying about something that is not real, obviously it is foolish. So Yamaraj wants to hit that word, that it is. He uses the word muda, and in another place he uses the word abala. So here we again represent ourselves as the body. Now he poses a question. Wait a minute. You people think that it is the body that is you. The body is here, dead body is here. Why are you crying? Why are you crying? Because the dead body is here. Oh, are you crying it is mutilated? Assuming that it is fixed. Will you still cry? Yeah, because there is no life in it. So Yamaraj says, so you people didn't know who was the person you were living with in the first place. Now you don't know who the person has left. You are still mourning over the dead body. So I think you can see that Yamaraj is not giving any latitude from the focus. He is to the point blank, And he keeps again and again and again, just like Krishna was telling the same thing to Arjuna. He was not giving too much latitude to go this way or that way. Same way, Yamaraj is also in the same way. Then he says, Yamaraj now he says a story. He says there was a hunter, and this fellow catches and throws a net and used to kill the birds for his living. Now he found a couple of Kulinga birds. Now I believe Kulinga is normally referred as sparrow, but the two Kulinga birds are there. Now he wanted to figure out what is the best way to trap. So he cast a net and he caught hold of the female bird. Now the male bird that was very much attached was so desperate. So it brought all the children and it is crying, what will I do after this wife is gone, and things like that. So he is busy lamenting and he is thinking like, maybe I should give up my life. Maybe I should do that. But while he was mourning, unknown to him, unknown to that male bird, the arrow from the hunter came and killed this male bird also. So the thing was that even our own life, we don't know. We are too busy mourning for so many things. Now, when we say mourning, we mourn, we get upset for trivial things. Oh, I ordered some dress for green color, it looks yellow. Or I am upset for that. Or I wanted something, I ordered a dish in the hotel, it is a bit too spicy for me or a bit too sweet for me. We get upset for these sort of things. Now, what more can be upsetting for a person who has lost their beloved whom they are very much attached? And even in that case, Yamaraji is saying, when you are busy wasting your time in sorrow, your time is also getting cut, and you don't know that hunter, that Yamaraj, the arrow of time, is also aimed at you. So why are you wasting your time? And then what happened? These people who were holding up the funeral, now they went and did their last rites after listening to Yamaraj's advice. After that was done, we go back to the previous story. What is that? Hiranyakashipu telling. So from the hunter story, we came to Yamaraj story. Now we are back to our Hiranyakashipu, who is advising his mother Diti, his sister-in-law Rishabhanu, and her children. Now they all listened to this and they said like, you know what? We are done. We are cool. We understood. The word that Bhagavatam uses, Tatve Chittam Adaryat. That means they began to contemplate on the spiritual truths of life. They started doing Tattva Vichara. Now, as regards our Hiranyakashipu, this was a knowledge which didn't emanate from its depth. It only came from a superficial level. So what happened? He then turned his attention to go and do tapasya and get all the boons from Brahmaji. And then his tamas started growing so big that he ended up abusing his own son Prahalad, which caused the Narsimha Avatara and eventually his death. Now, we are not going to continue with the story what happened to Sukha Brahmam or what happened to Yudhishthira. If you are interested, go and read Saptama Skandha of Bhagavatam. We are done with our discussion on Hiranyakashipu. Now, we have a interesting task. How to take all these elevated, evolved Vedantic thoughts and apply it in our life. Otherwise, it will be like me going to some place, listening to all the lecture, but I don't know how to apply. So, what is the use of it? There will be no use. So, the first and foremost thing we have to understand is, what is our real nature? Are we this body? Are we this mind? Are we this prana? Are we this buddhi? So, the thing that will help us to differentiate. Now, this is possible only when we take this knowledge and affect it on our gunas. We saw this karmic cycle, which is the engine of samsara, a few minutes ago. Now, this karmic cycle is continuously going out of our hands. Why? The two things that feed the karmic cycle, what is it? One is indriyas that go into the world of objects, and it comes back with a report and says, do you want this, do you want that? And we say, yes, 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 give me more. That's why in Coca-Cola advertisement also they put the tagline, right? Ye dil mange more. That is because we are living that materialistic life. Now what the lesson for us is, the second source is the vasanas that is coming from within. So the vasanas are going to keep pushing you into that. Now, what we call as karma could be a thought, word or action. Once you do a karma, you are going to get karma phala. But while you are waiting for the karma phala, you are going to replay, pre-play. So that is again going to strengthen your vasanas. Right? So we are caught in that continuous vasana building situation, which is having like a positive feedback loop that is stuck forever in that loop. The only way we can introduce that change is by having a guna transformation. That guna transformation will eventually affect a different way of thinking at the karma. So instead of thinking in a tamasic way, I am now thinking in a sattvic way. Now I will look at the same karma in a different way. So the question is, how do we affect that change on that karma, on the gunas? Only by changing the gunas you will make a change in the karma, and that comes from satsanga. And satsanga will lead you again to shastras. Shastras will tell you what is dharma. When you take that knowledge of dharma and apply in your life, you are going to have a different way of thinking. You are rearranging your gunas by this continuous positive association. So the guna transformation will result in a change in the way we look at karma. Let's say that what happens if I focus on just whatever my desires are or whatever I can afford, then what will it do? It will eventually make me go against dharma, and those karma phalas are called papa. If on the other hand, if I go with dharma, those karma phalas are called punya. Now the interesting thing about papa is, it will want to protect itself and it will push you to do more papa. Now on the other hand, if you do punya, punya will only come when you are upholding dharma, only when you follow dharma. So punya will first protect dharma, and in that process it will also protect you. But what we are going to do is transcend even that. How? When you are continuously doing dharmic actions, developing so much punya, at some point there is going to be viveka that kicks in and says, I don't want to be attached to this karma phala. I want to be attached with only Bhagavan. So you come and introduce an idea of detachment. And that detachment is going to slowly lead you to the path of renunciation. And eventually you are going to escape the samsara cycle. Because you are going to stop creating more karma and karma phala, and then you are going to eventually develop jnana that will burn all the past karma that is accumulated as sanchita karma. Now that viveka will have to come in. And what is that viveka? That viveka, what Shastras tell, that your real nature is Atman. Your real nature is not that of the body, or that of the mind, or that of the buddhi, or that of the prana. So when you understand that you are Atman, and you want to understand and be unified with that supreme consciousness, instead of bargaining and settling for some trivial trinkets. Now the second point we want to see is, like, there are a lot of people around, you will see when they lose their beloved one. Let's say their spouse of someone whom they are madly in love for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Some of these people get into depression. In fact, Bollywood has cooked up all these fake Abrahamic ideas, and many of us believe in India that there is a soulmate. When in reality, you are related to your spouse only because of the sharira, only because of your vasana compatibility. Otherwise, there is no connection between you and your spouse. Even if you have 100 children, that connection is only because of the vasanas. The connection is only because of that temporary situation, just like those animals that have come to drink water. Two deer have come simultaneously. There is a lion also there, there is also an elephant, a zebra, everything is there, but those two deer have come. That's all. So, the same way, husband and wife are connected only in that way. The other thing to think about when there is a loss of someone, whether it is a father, mother, children, spouse, anyone. Just like you remember that Kulinga birds in that parable of Yama. So, what happens is, we must realize that we came from the unknown and we are going to go to the unknown. In between, we say, hey, I fall in love with this person, I'm madly in love with this. So, all that is coming along with us, with you, me, the only thing that is accompanying us besides our ignorance and ahankara is our karma. And we just spoke about how to get rid of that karmic baggage. And one thing we need to recognize is every jivatma will charter its own course because of its karma. It will follow its own course. So, it is important for us to understand that. That is why you will find sometimes in some families, parents may be great, pious and whatnot, children may be totally opposite. Or the other way around, doesn't matter, but that is just for an example to understand that. So the important thing is what is the purpose in life? What is our purpose in life? Like you are telling that I am born here. I don't know. I am just like in a big corporation. You are just a number. If there is a company with 50,000 employees, you are just a number, right? So same way, are we just a number? So we need to understand what is the purpose of our life. And the way we understand that is, our purpose of life can be understood by the vision of life we have. We have already seen many times that a human being is capable of operating at 4 different visions. The first and the lowest level is kama. The second expanded level is artha. The broadest level a human being can operate is dharma. Now, when you transcend even dharma, you are going to go to moksha. Take an average person. They are so engrossed in their own life. They are engrossed in a level of I, me, myself, that of kama. So what happens? That karma driven life, which is going to generate more and more karma, we already saw that. But at the same time, if you remove that dharma from the backdrop, my kama and artha are very important to me, so I don't mind compromising dharma. And that is what we are today when we are living a materialistic life. And that means that we are not having the correct picture of a human life at a full potential. So the purpose of life is to discover ourselves, our real nature. So how do you do that? By aligning yourself with dharma. When you operate at the level of dharma, you understand that artha and kama are included in the dharma. Once you understand artha and kama are included in dharma, and once you say that dharma is constantly pointing you towards that parabrahman, that paramatma, you are now interested in going towards the culmination point of dharma, which is moksha. So dharma alone will take you to moksha. Dharma is merely a representation of what you see, that moksha state in this world. So the purpose of life is to focus on a dharma filled, dharma focused life. The other thing we already looked at was to rise above sorrow. When we are talking about big problems like a loss of a beloved, loss of a parent, loss of a child, whatever, we are already talking about the Atman is the real stater, and that real state is indestructible. You cannot destroy Atman. And if Atman is your real state and it doesn't change, it doesn't modify, it doesn't decay, then where is sorrow? So the purpose of all this is, when you are in satsanga, it continuously glorifies the nature, our real nature as Atman. And it also glorifies the Shastras all the time. You go to a satsanga where they don't glorify Shastras, like some of the New Age Babas, run away from that. Today you have a non-Hindu people who are selling you a syncretic idea. Like what? Like Jesus is also your God. Like the dargahs that are open for Hindus. Like Sai Baba, who displaced all the Hindu devata and devis from the temple. All these are all in between ideas that give you some fake trajectory that accelerate our spiritual decay. But when you have satsanga, it constantly promotes your real nature as Atman and Our goal is to attain Paramatman. And the Shastras, what are they? Like Upanishads, Vedas, Itihasa Puranas, Gitas, all the commentaries written by great Acharyas, for example. The entire corpus, the entire library of books that we have in Sanatana Dharma, doesn't matter which darshana you follow or which sampradaya you follow, they tell you that your real nature is Atman, and the final goal for this Atman is to be with Paramatman. Now we already saw what to be careful about. We already saw that real problem what we have is with the karma that traps us. Because we wrongly identify ourselves as the body or the mind or whatever, we are caught in that samsara cycle. We already saw that, and we already saw how to come out of it. The last point for today, what we can imbibe, is the difference between knowing and being. I know that touching fire will cause burns. Knowing that is not going to be useful if I touch the fire and get burnt. Right? So if you have a contact with fire, it is going to show its true nature. So same way, when Hiranyakashipu talks about all this highest truth, he only knew it, but he never applied it. Now, if you compare it with the so-called atheists, what we have, who are viciously Hindu-phobic, if you really see some of these so-called atheists, you will see them many in clubhouse also, they are only Hindu-phobes. They have nothing to do with other religions. Now, these kind of Hindu-phobes who continuously spout negativity because either they have a personal motive or they have some personal situation, personal axe to grind. So, what is happening? We are caught in that kind of continuous disinformation. So, here they are like 500 levels below Hiranyakashipu, who seems to be the pinnacle of tamas in Satya Yuga. Right? So, we immediately feel happy. You know what? I believe in Bhagavan. I go to temple. I am doing all these things. Now, where do we place ourselves? We are at 499, not much different than these people who say there is no Bhagavan. Why? Because many of us don't align ourselves. Now, this is not an individual criticism. Please don't take it that way. I am talking about in generalities. That many of us don't align ourselves with Dharma because we don't even know what Shastras say. Unless we are in touch with Shastra, we don't know Dharma. How will we align ourselves with Dharma? So, in that sense, there is not much difference between a person who is blind and a person who has shut down his eyes. And that's what we need to understand. So, how do we break this logjam? How do we go past the level of Hiranyakashipu? Go past the level of Rakshasas and Asuras, become a Manushya, and then go past to the level of Daivam, and then transcend to that higher level. Go to the level of what Rishis are talking about, and then go to the Supreme Parabrahman. That is the ladder we are staring up right now. And the only way we can climb that ladder is by the 3-step process we keep telling again and again. I know many of you are bored of it, but that is the ultimate reality, right? First thing is Shravanam. which all of you are doing right now. So 100 marks on that. So next step is mananam, constantly reflecting on this. Now that is why sometimes we need the external resource. To give that external resource, we put all these talks on YouTube. There is a replay option. There is also this accompanying article. You can go and read it. So you take that at your own leisure, regurgitate, just like the cow is chewing the cud. So you regurgitate. And once you regurgitate, second step is over. What is the third step? Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasitavyam. So we are going to become the very thing we are trying to study. That is where we implement it. And even if we fail in that, that is where the rubber meets the road, because by that guna transformation only the needle of karma will move. Otherwise, it will be stuck at the same level and going on that samsaric cycle direction. You want to change the direction only when there is a guna transformation. That guna transformation will happen only when you take the Shravanam and Mananam steps seriously and then go and apply it and see that Nididhyasitavyam step start slowly making that change in your life. So, we have looked at, so whatever now, we don't have to master the Vedas and tell all slokas and also know entire Bhagavad Gita. No, we don't have to do all those. So whatever little we know or understand of Shastras, the two key things is, first is we need to reflect it, internalize it, make it part of ourselves. So that's why Adi Shankara says Bhagavad Gita kinchitadita. Even if you learn little, just follow that. Follow through it. You don't have to know the entire spectrum of all the books and whatnot. So some people come and give this wonderful excuse. See, in other religion, there is only, in the desert religion, there is only one book. Right? So it's very easy. Good or bad, we can easily figure it out. You guys have got so many books. The reason for that is different people are in different starting points. So you can start at your own level. Whereas in the other religions, you have to put everything. It is like putting a like a round peg in a square hole. You have to shoe on it into it. You have no other option. Whereas in Sanatana Dharma, doesn't matter whatever level you are, you can start where you are and evolve. So there is something for everyone. So when we understand that Shastras are our best friend and Satsanga is constantly promoting Shastra, then what we do? It is like that classic picture of Bhagavan Sri Krishna becoming Parthasarathi and he is driving the chariot of Arjuna. So Arjuna is the Jivatma and Krishna obviously is the Paramatma. So what Arjuna did was he gave the reins of his life, his buddhi, and the reins to control his indriyas, everything to Bhagavan. And Bhagavan is taking care. So in our case, we will also be able to take care of Sanchita Karma, Prarabdha Karma, Agamya Karma, all those things. Doesn't matter. We will develop Viveka, we will also develop Vairagya, we will do Karma Yoga, we will develop Jnana, all those things, provided we have a continuous association with Satsanga, which will keep giving us a continuous flow of information about only two things, about our real nature and about Paramatma. That continuous information feed will affect a change in our guna composition. As we stop becoming more and more rajasic and tamasic and we start developing more and more sattvic qualities, That sattva is going to make you realize your real nature, which is already shining through you. So, may we take satsanga seriously. May we hold on to that lotus feet of Bhagavan and help him help us. He is continuously trying to do help to us. But what we are doing is we are putting all the block through our ahankara and saying no. Right? So, what we need to do is basically stop putting the blockade for Bhagavan to help us, and instead we need to start clearing that all the mess we have put by having the rearrangement of our gunas. And may each one of us be empowered in this journey by the grace of Paramatma. Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Krishna, Har Har Mahadeva.